Welcome to Amanda Hall's Psychic Mini Workshop Series, workshop number 29. This week we're covering the new moon in Virgo. I'd like to welcome you here to my weekly workshop series on Facebook Live, directly after my show off A1R Psychic Radio out of the Washington District in the US of A. So if you're catching us live here in Australia, it's 12:30 just in the afternoon here. For those of you around the world, it may be a different time for you. I'd like to welcome everybody. This is a free presentation. You're more than welcome to watch it as many times as you like. Share it with your friends. I want to get some T's and C's out of the road before we start. I do not do free readings in this segment. This is a teaching segment that I do every week, sharing my knowledge as a psychic and an astrologer of being in the industry over 40 years. I like to share with people some of the things that I've learnt along the way and hopefully bring some slight improvement into your life or new ways of dealing with or looking at issues in your life, and hopefully that some new practices that you can bring into your life that will bring you more balance, peace and harmony. So for those of you that have just joined us, welcome. My name's Amanda Hall Psychic. I'm here on the Gold Coast. I've been in the psychic industry in Australia for over 40 years. Been inducted into the Psychic Hall of Fame, and for the 4th year in a row, I've been voted Psychic of the Year by the public. So I'd like to thank those that participated in the poll that voted me in again. It's a very prestigious honour. Thank you very much. So on this week's show, we're going to be working with the new moon in Virgo. So the new moon in Virgo will actually happen on the 10th of September. So we've still got a few days yet to get ready for the new moon in Virgo. I'd like to say to everybody, though, before we go too much further, I can see all the little hearts and things going across the screen. I'm not going to give shout outs. I prefer to try and keep the broadcast as seamless as possible and keep focused on what I'm here to share with you. If I start saying hi to this one and that one, I will lose my train of thought and nothing will make any sense. So for those of you that have just joined us coming across from A1R Psychic Radio, welcome. We just had a great show where we've just been talking about lots of different things over there, and as we do each week, I keep the two segments different so that you've got different information for different reasons. On this segment, it is purely about whatever the candle of the week is that I'm featuring and whatever the workshop is that relates to my soy candle. And this week we're working with the new moon in Virgo. And as I just previously said, the new moon is actually happening on the 10th of September. So wherever you are around the world, you can get ready for the new moon. I like to work with new moons on a 7-day cycle. So as I've just previously said, new moon on the 10th, but I'd like to start working with the new moon from the 8th. I like to look at 2 days on the approach of the moon, 3 days of the moon cycle, and then 2 days on the decline of the moon waning down, I beg your pardon, and you know, descending away from us, if you want to look at it that way. So with a new moon, what does a new moon mean? Now, a new moon, no matter what energy it is usually the time when we sit down and we write our wish list of the things that are new and exciting or things that we would like to attract to ourselves. And some people say to me, that's really hard. How can you do that 12 times a year and start writing new things that you want to bring into your life? Well, of course, not everything sort of magically happens within a couple of days or a couple of weeks or even a month. Sometimes things that are near and dear to our hearts and things that we want to bring into our lives that we still consider new may take years to manifest. So it's always about having a list in progress, I suppose, about the things that we're trying to achieve. But I like to look at each new moon cycle as an opportunity to put another layer or two to the newness of the things that we're trying to bring in. And I try and work with the energy of that particular moon. Now, this one is the new moon in Virgo. So we need to look at what the Virgo energy is trying to tell us. Now, the Virgo energy is a time where I think we can sort of breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief. We can slow things down a little bit. It's in an earth sign, so it's sort of like more practical, logical, down to earth sort of situations. It's a time when we need to be sort of increasing our fresh fruit and vegetables going into our body because that's really important. We also need to be looking at making sure we're getting adequate rest, that we're also getting adequate time outside in the fresh air. You know, there's a lot of reasons why we need to do things at different times of the month and different times of the year. And for most of us, we lead very, very, very busy lives that we run from one situation to the next. and we sort of think, oh, if I could just stop this merry-go-round and just get off for a couple of seconds, you know, oh yes, I'm going to do more exercise when I find time, and yes, I'm going to do this when I find more time, and it's always about this time. It's like, even though there's 24 hours in the day, there never seems to be enough time in those 24 hours. And, you know, look, many people are starting to look at alternative or different ways of looking after their physical health. And I see constantly on social media all these different things. You know, if you want to lose weight, do this. If you want to do this, do that. Do this, that and the other. And we're so bombarded with information that if we were to turn around and buy everything and take every pill and concoction and try everything that's suggested out there, we'd all end up with a system full of stuff going into us that's technically healthy in inverted commas, that would all be fighting against each other, and in the end all as we'd probably be doing is but gaining absolutely nothing for all our best intentions. So I'm not a doctor and I'm not a medical expert, and I'm certainly not a nutritionalist or anything like that, but I am an astrologer. And I can say to you something that I've learned over my 40 odd years in astrology and the psychic industry is, if something feels right, then do it. And if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't feel right for you, then don't do it. And I think that's probably the best thing that we can look at. I think we all take everything far too seriously. I think if we go back to some basics, and I feel this is what Virgo, the new moon in Virgo, is asking of us, particularly this year, is to simplify everything. Let's go back to some basics. Many, many moons ago, people didn't have the variety, the choice of foods, food that we could buy all year round. Everything had a season. And, you know, when it was apple season, you ate apples. And when it was cauliflower season, you ate cauliflowers till you were sick of them. And we didn't have as many choices, but we went with what was available. And it was a much simpler sort of time. And I think what we need to do as human beings is go back to those more simplistic times. If we can go back to living and preparing food in the most simple form, then that's got to be better for us than coating it with things and adding things to it that wasn't meant to be there to begin with. Look, I'm not saying don't add flavour to your food, but what I'm saying is, why do we take a piece of fish that is perfectly nutritious, good for us, has a taste all of its own, and then we add 55 other different things to completely change it and make it taste like chicken? Well, why didn't we have a piece of chicken to begin with? Why did we start with a piece of fish and want to, you know, change it completely? So I think if you take your health, diet and lifestyle regime back to taking the word diet out of the equation and looking at healthy eating, and what is it that your body particularly needs. And each person's body, I believe, is different. And I think it's made up of many different areas and things that it needs. Some people need to have more carbohydrates than others. Some people need to have more fiber in their diet because they've got a sluggish immune system. You know, some people need to have more water. There's all different things. And, you know, because of where the planets are placed in our chart, the reasons why we might need different nutrients versus the next person. So I think if we learn to understand what our body is telling us, and particularly under a time like a new moon, and particularly with it being in Virgo, where we can sit down, we can take a few moments to sit down and sort of look at, you know, even keeping a food diary for a few days and how we felt, and did we feel our energy up or down or whatever. Start to take some notice of what our body's telling us. And I can honestly say to you, I mean, if you're suffering with a health issue, a physical health issue, and we all do from time to time, and as we get older, certain parts of the body wear out quicker than others, and I've found that out this year, that I'm no longer 20 anymore and can't do the things that I used to be able to do. And like anybody else, I get frustrated and annoyed with myself because I can't manage to do what I used to be able to do, and think, well, that's wrong. It should be able to do it because I've told it. You know, I've told my legs we're going for a 5-mile hike. Why aren't you cooperating? And because it says, well, you know, you're not 20 anymore and we don't just do those things anymore. So you've got to learn to make adjustments. But I think you've also got to look at whatever your personal health conditions may be on your physical or emotional health, and look at ways of improving that. So if you know that you're prone to coughs and colds, well, then look at ways to prevent that or to minimize that risk. So it's all about taking responsibility for our physical health, and also looking at what foods we can use as medicines to help us improve our physical health. Now, the Virgo energy is also about analysing. So I think it's a time too that I think we can sort of sit back and reflect and listen to what's going on around us a little bit and sort of say, now, hang on a minute, I want to get off that merry-go-round. I don't want to be on that merry-go-round of stress at work. Everybody else can sort of gossip and carry on and mind each other's business, but I'm just going to go to work for a week and I'm just going to try doing my job and only answering questions when I'm spoken to, not getting involved in things that really are none of my business, and then see how different you feel. You'll start to feel the stress starting to come away from your body. And I think a lot of times, I think we as the individual place far too much stress on ourselves because we expect so much of ourselves. We expect that we should be able to do this, and I should be superhuman, and I should have the cleanest house in the street, and, you know, do everything that I need to fit into a life. And I mean, I think the Virgo time of the year shows us that what we need to probably do is get some better time management skills, is sit down and draw up a timetable. You know, I'm going to rise at this time, I'm going to get up and do exercise or yoga or have a cup of coffee or a shower or whatever it might be, and sort of slot it into the timetable. And I think by doing that, you'll start to realize how much time you do waste on things that really aren't important. And that would then free up your time to be able to just go and sit in the chair and get 5 minutes of sunshine, which is vitamin D for the bones, or to be able to take your shoes off and put your feet on the earth and do a little bit of grounding, which is great for our health also. So I think it's a time about reorganizing what is important to us on an emotional and physical level while we've got the new moon in Virgo. So what would we start to do? We would start to write a list. Now, I'm going to teach you to do it slightly differently with this new moon, even though it's about what we want to attract to us. Why don't we start the top of the list with 2 things that we'd like to release? Now, there may be 2 things that have been troubling you. There may be 2 things that you've let go of, or you just want to make sure that you've completely let go of them. Say, for argument's sake, that you've made a conscious choice in your life that you're not going to allow yourself to eat chocolate 7 days of the week. You're going to limit yourself to chocolate one day in every 7, let's say. So you're going to write on your list, I'm really proud of myself, the way I've been able to refrain from needing to eat chocolate 7 days of the week. I now enjoy it only 1 day of the week, and I wish to continue. So we're releasing that need for wanting to reward yourself with the chocolate on the other 6 days of the week. That's just an example. It may be somebody else that says, I want to release any residue energy left over to me from giving up smoking. I've been smoking for the last 20 years and I'm really proud of myself that I've achieved this. But now I want to just make sure I've let go of all the emotions and any addiction or any reasons why it triggered me to smoke in the beginning, or why it triggered or continued to help me smoke all those years. So there's lots of things that we might want to let go of. It may be you're letting go of emotions. It may be you're letting go of your anger. You know, so you're letting go, you're releasing at least 2 little things. Then I'd like to see you start to write a list underneath that of, say, 3 things that you would like to attract in your life. And it may very well be that you want to attract more peace and harmony into your life. And that will overspill into your physical and emotional well-being. It could be that you want to attract a new business. It could be you want to attract a new person in your life. There's many things. It doesn't just have to be on the physical health level. It can be on love. It can be on relationships. It can be on money. But let's try and focus first and foremost on the Virgo energy, and then put the other things in behind it. So how we would work then is we would get a new moon candle. These are one of my new moon candles. These are an extra large candle. They burn for up to 100 hours if you do alternate wicks. If you burn 1 wick one day and 1 wick the next day, you will get up to 100-hour burn time. If you were to burn the 2 wicks at the same time, you will get about 50 to 60 hours out of them. The reasons why I do that is because you get a longer burn time from your candle, obviously, but also the soy wax itself never actually gets hot, but the glass containers that it's in can get hot and can change with the temperature changes, can crack. So it's important we always put our candle on a coaster, never directly on furniture or on a surface. We always put something between us. I prefer to use something that's got a cork base on it so that it sort of neutralizes the heat a little bit and stops the glass container from cracking as much. So the new moon candle, we would also work with an earth sign candle as well. So for those of you that may not have the capacity to burn a big candle and might want a little one to take to the office, this week you can see with the travel pack that I've made up, I've got the new moon candle in the middle and I've got an earth sign candle at either side. You can pick any one of the 28 candles to make up with your travel set, with your travel candles. So when we're burning candles, we need to make sure that we sit with the candle. I'm a big fan of never leaving a candle unattended. No matter how safe and secure you think you've got it set up, something can always happen. An accident can always happen and something can catch fire. So for that reason, I never leave a candle unattended. I never put a candle under an open window, air conditioners or fans. I keep them away from children and pets. And I always put mine in another container besides the container it's in, so that it's got less chance of accidentally being knocked over or spilt or whatever. But I do like to sit with my candle. For those of you that can't sit with a candle, you can always use a melt warmer. These wax warmers here in Australia are around about $15 at the supermarket. Pick them up at a department store or a variety store. Again, same principle, always put it on a coaster, write your list out, read it out aloud before you put your melt warmer on. You can use those, you can leave those sort of going unattended and sort of go about your daily business. So going back to the new moon, now that we've covered how to work with a candle, if you don't have my candles, can I suggest use any candle that you have, even if it's only a household grade candle, as long as you sort of put the energy into the candle by holding it and imagining the energy that you're putting into the candle, so that you know then you're putting that point of focus, that point of concentration into the candle before you light it. That's really, really, really important. So we've had a fairly busy week astrologically. A lot of people have been feeling sort of still quite uncomfortable with some very strong vibrations that are in the universe at the moment. We've still got Mars conjunct the South Node in Aquarius, so we've still got a lot of people sort of looking to find easy ways out of situations that they're still feeling sort of quite negative or aggressive towards other people. And you'll find people that aren't handling the energy are the ones that are being bossy or bombastic or trying to be dominant and forceful and trying to pick arguments and things like that. So stay away from those sort of people. We're also finding that there's still sort of some major breakthroughs coming through. There is things happening globally that I think that, you know, not necessarily on a pleasant scale, but they need to be sort of brought out into the open. I think it's a time of truth. We need to get the truth out there so everybody can sort of start to see where we're going from here on in. So on next week's workshop, we're going to be working with the sun in Virgo. It is the Virgo time of the year. So if you know a Virgo or you want to learn a little bit more about Virgos, then tune in again next week. For those of you that might want a private reading, you can head to my website, www.amandahallpsychic.com.au. When you're there at the checkout, type in the word Facebook in capital letters and you will receive a discount for that. And that applies to any reading services, candles, jewelry, anything that's on our website, you will receive a discount for that. We do offer free postage here in Australia, but for our overseas visitors, we can only offer you a flat fee. So it doesn't matter how much product that you buy, we still only charge a flat fee for delivery. So if you're looking to learn a little bit more about yourself, why don't you, when you're over at my websites, join up on our mailing list, and you will get the opportunity then to get a free astrology chart. And this is designed specifically for you from your date, time and place of birth, where we can email that anywhere in the world. Don't be alarmed if you don't know your time of birth. That's okay. We can work without that. It just means you get less information than you would if you had an accurate time of birth. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for joining us. I hope you can join us again next week. And please feel free to share these with your friends. For those of you that may want to go back and look at some of my previous shows, whether it be on A1R Psychic Radio or our previous workshops, there is a specific page set up on Facebook that you will find in the blurb about workshops and shows, where all the shows are uploaded to there. So until next week, have a great week and bye for now.